All right. Here we go, folks. That's right. We got a victory week, okay? Yes, the Steelers did beat the Raiders, but you know what? We don't care about that right now because you know why? We have two trades, the first two trades of the 2024 season, okay? As well as a bag alert, okay? This episode potentially could crest the hour mark. So guess what? If you have a task that you have to do, if you got that homework assignment that you need to work on, if you have that book report that you need to do, just know this. If you listen to this episode, you should be able to complete it all, okay? Because guess what? Davante Adams makes the move, okay? He finally gets traded to the Jets. I don't know why, but he did, okay? As well as we have bag alert, folks. That's right. David Montgomery gets paid. He gets paid. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, junkies from here, there, and everywhere, as well as Haason Reddick has been given permission to seek a trade, as well as Mike Williams is now available for a trade, as well as Roy Robertson gets traded to the Seahawks. Russell Wilson gets first team practice reps with the chance of starting on Sunday. Baltimore wins the Battle of the Beltway. The Steelers get the dub, okay? The Cowboys give Jerry Jones a birthday L. What a great birthday present if you're a Cowboys fan. The Browns continue to drown in L's, and Jacksonville checked themselves into a hotel that I don't think a lot of people want to be a part of. It's called Loserville. Yeah. Did I miss anything? I don't think I missed anything. Who cares? Don't matter. Because guess what? This is the 40th episode. What great way to go and to celebrate 40 episodes than with a banger. I'm talking about a bomb, a nuke of an episode. Okay, you got a bag alert and two trades in one. Come on now, this is the greatest football podcast. Can't even speak because I'm so excited. The greatest football podcast you can possibly listen to. Okay, you already know the title, so we're not even going to go in that because wow, we need to get into everything, the meat and potatoes of everything. But guess what? I am your host. Okay, the man with the plan. Okay, the man who was trying to figure out what the Steelers are going to do. Okay, the man who was on the verge of creating a whole episode of just rants. But I didn't do it because the Steelers won. Okay, I'm all these things and more. You already know the titles. Bagro Damas, Chief Head of the Table, all those things and more. Okay, but most importantly, I am your host, Kale. Okay, on three, you already know what I'm getting ready to say. So guess what? If you're in your car, roll your window down. Okay, if you're in your room right now, guess what? Open up your window, okay? Because guess what? On three, 1, 2, 3, let's lock in. All right, folks, let's get into the meat and potatoes of everything that is going on. I know I'm supposed to be talking about college football, but guess what? All this stuff happened while I was working on the talking points, so guess what? That's going to have to be put on the back burner. That might actually be an episode for before Thursday Night Football. I don't know. We'll figure that out. But who cares about that, okay? Davante Adams gets traded, as well as a back alert, okay? Whoo, man, oh man, do we have so much we have to talk about. It is ridiculous. Oh, I knew I was forgetting something. Trade predictions. See, come on, man. Come on now. This is the greatest football podcast in the world, okay? Because guess what? You can forget things and then remember them in a matter of a few seconds. Who cares? But guess what? Former Packers and now former Raiders receiver Davante Adams has been traded to the New York Jets. Okay, so the Jets, of course, receive Davante Adams and the rest of his deal. They take that on. But the Raiders receive a conditional third-round pick that turns into a second if Davante Adams either makes first or second team All-Pro or is on the active roster for the AFC Championship game or Super Bowl. Now, that's right, we have to woosah for a moment. Yeah, Yeah, I got my surgical knife. Okay, I got all my tools and everything because we're about to dissect this thing like a surgeon. Okay, so let's get into everything. Okay, so this is what I will say. I understand, that Davante Adams wanted to, reunite with the quarterback that he has, the most success from. I get all that. I do. I really do. But, I feel like this is a bad decision. This is a really bad decision because when we look at it and you look at the other teams that were somewhat interested in you, those teams have a much more better chance of making it to the playoffs, or maybe even, if they were to get you, make it to the AFC Championship, or let alone a Super Bowl, compared to going to the Jets, especially with everything that has happened, with, Robert Saleh getting fired and, people losing their play calling abilities, and other people getting play calling abilities, all those different types of things, right? And the simple fact that you decided to go to keep not even keep, but to put your heels in the sand and really, want to go to the Jets says a lot about you, right? Because my only gripe is, don't be one of those players, once you're done playing football and whatnot, that you're like, you know what, the only regret I have is I didn't get a chance to win a championship. You did get a chance to win a championship. You did. Because you know why? You could have went to the Ravens. If you would have went to the Ravens, I mean, that automatically, pushes them even farther to being a Super Bowl team. You have the Bills, where you would be the number one option. You would be getting the ball a lot of times, and that would instantly make them the best team in their division, which, honestly speaking, the division is a wreck right now. They could easily win the division, put themselves in a position to where they can, be seated pretty high and go up against a weak team in the playoffs and make a deep playoff run if they really wanted to. There's other teams that you could have went to. And the fact that you decided to go to a person who left you, right? Left you, right? He didn't just, you know what? I think it's just best we go. I think it's just, things just aren't working. No, he forced his way out of Green Bay to go to another situation and left you. And you decided to leave Green Bay out of emotion, all for you to go back to him. That doesn't make any sense. You are supposed to go to a place and then go into a situation that benefits you the most to where you could possibly compete to win a championship. Okay? Because let me tell you something. And Triple H said this, and I know this is probably the wrong thing to probably say and get it from a wrestler, but it does somewhat make sense in this situation. He literally said in a promo that he was shooting, he said, you could either make friends or you can make money, right? And I decided to make money, okay? Now, when you add that over to Davante Adams' situation, he's already made the money. All you need is a championship. Even if you get one championship, that puts you in a class than everybody else. That puts you in the elite of the elite, okay? Because now that means that you have jewelry to show that, guess what, I am a champion. That not only, says a lot about your NFL career, but that could open up numerous doors for, advertisements and endorsements and all those different types of things. It can do that. But you know what doesn't? Is you not being a champion, okay? Because guess what? No matter if you won one championship, two championships, 4, 5, 7, whatever, guess what? You're still a champion. See, anytime Tom Brady or Gronk, Julian Edelman, Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, Russell Wilson, any of those dudes, anytime they go on anywhere, guess what they say? Super Bowl champion. Blank, 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 blank. That's what they say. They don't just say that person's name. No, they say Super Bowl champion. For Tom Brady, 7-time Super Bowl champion, right? That has a different aura, a different ring to it compared to just saying that person's name, right? And you would go into a situation where, honestly speaking, the offense is a little bit dysfunctional. Not to mention, Aaron Rodgers just threw Mike Williams under the bus. He did. He literally said, "Oh yeah, Mike Williams, messed up on that route and whatnot." Geez, Aaron, are you just not going to just take, responsibility and just take one on the chin like a real team leader? Are you really going to do that? Are you really going to go into a place of dysfunction, Davante Adams? Are you really willing to put yourself through that? Because I'm telling you right now, that defense last night did not look as good when they had Robert Saleh. Basically, the Jets defense could not stop the run. It couldn't. It could not stop the run. That's not good. That is not good at all. And mind you, they were a little bit better and they were a little bit more buttoned up when they had Robert Saleh. And granted, I get it. You know, a lot of things have happened. You were just in London not too long ago, and then to find out that your head coach gets fired, and then your defensive coordinator is still the defensive coordinator, but is also the head coach. Whew, I know that's a lot. And then on top of that, the offensive coordinator loses his play calling abilities, and then the assistant offensive coordinator is now the offensive coordinator, but he still keeps that title. And it's just a whole bunch of rigmarole, okay? And the fact that you decided to, stick with this says a lot about you, Davante Adams. But you know what? Guess what? When you don't make it to the playoffs, guess what? No one's going to be there to console you or, say, hey, man, you should do this, you should do that. No, man, because guess what? You had an opportunity. Okay, you messed up. You messed up before, and you decided to go to the Raiders, and you made a decision out of a emotion and impulse. I get all of that. But now you're doing it again. And this time it's worse. It's way worse. But again, if that's what you want to do, then hey, by all means, take a crack at it. Break a leg. No pun intended. Now let us talk about. Well, should we go to the back? Well, we'll just keep on going on with the other trades. So Roy Robertson, D tackle for the Jaguars, was traded to the Seahawks. Okay, so the Jaguars receive a 2026 6th-round pick. Honestly speaking, the Seattle defensive line definitely needs more depth. So this definitely is a really good move. Not to mention, he actually is he's a pretty good D tackle. Now I'm not saying he's Dexter Lawrence or Cameron Hayward or Gravedigger or any of those guys, but he is pretty good. He is pretty good. So he definitely goes into a much better situation than staying with Jacksonville, because again Jacksonville's not really going anywhere, and that tire fire is burning bright. Now, moving on to the bag alert. Okay, so yes, there is a bag alert. I know, it's crazy, right? So David Montgomery, running back for the Lions, inked a 2-year, $18.25 million extension. Okay, he gets $10.5 million in total guarantees. He's making $9.1 million a year. Okay, now when we look at his stats last year, not this year because this year is still going, but when we look at last year, 219 rushing attempts for 1,015 rushing yards, 4.6 yards per carry, 13 touchdowns. That's right, 13 touchdowns and 22 rushes of 10 plus yards or more. When we look at this, he was already somewhat productive with Chicago, but when he went to the Lions, it just took things to a whole nother level, right? Him and Jahmyr Gibbs is, they are that 1-2 punch, that really good 1-2 punch in the league. They are, in my mind, they're one of the best, okay? And both of them are home run hitters, okay? Both of them, they can easily go for 30 or 40 yards untouched. They could go, score 2 or 3 touchdowns, no problem, right? And, for David Montgomery to be in a situation where you're on a winning team, you're in a winning situation, you're in a winning culture, and, everything around you is just winning, that's great. It's a great situation. Now, granted, I understand he did throw shots at Ryan Poles and whatnot, but, you have to look at it as a blessing in disguise at this point, because now you're in a situation where now you are showing the best you, right? You literally had 13 touchdowns last year. And this season isn't even over yet. It's not even halfway done yet. So who knows if you can even get close to that or even crack that, right? So again, great situation, great signing, great everything all around. Again, the Lions are prioritizing and taking care of their players, which we might have to talk about the Lions, about everything that's happened. Now, on to one of the first games that we need to cover, okay? We have to talk about the Battle of the Beltway, folks. Yes, the Battle of the Beltway. If you did not watch that game, you have to rewatch that game, because that game was a really good game. It was a back and forth. heavyweight bout. And, both quarterbacks, definitely showed a lot, because those two teams were, the 1 and 2 best offenses in the league. And they showed it. When Lamar was doing something, Jaden Daniels was doing something. When Jaden Daniels was doing something, Lamar was doing something. And, it was great. It was a great game. So when we look at things, right, Lamar Jackson was 20 for 26, 323 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 12.4 yards per attempt, a 76.9 completion percentage, right? Derrick Henry, 24 attempts for 132 rushing yards, 5.5 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns, 83 rushing yards after contact, okay? And 3 rushes of 10 plus yards or more. Zay Flowers, 9 for 9, okay? That's crazy, right? 9 for 9. 9 targets for 9 receptions, 132 receiving yards, 14.7 receiving yards per reception, okay? Jaden Daniels, 24 for 35, 269 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 7.7 yards per attempt, a 68.6 completion percentage. Austin Eckler, 9 attempts for 21 rushing yards, 2.3 rushing yards per carry. Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry, 7 targets for 6 receptions, 53 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, 8.8 receiving yards per reception. When we look at this, the only difference in this entire situation was the Ravens have a better defense than what Washington has, right? Washington has pieces. Granted, they do. They have pieces. But, that Ravens defense it's built different. It is. It's built different, okay? When you have a Roquan Smith, a Kyle Hamilton, a Marlon Humphrey, a Nate Wiggins, that defensive line doing its thing. When you have all of those intangibles on that defense, that's a problem right there. And granted, Jaden Daniels, he was taking some hits. He was taking some shots. And he was getting right back up and going back into the huddle. So, kudos to him. Now, I will say this. I think something that does need to be talked about is the Ravens defense. I think, they're still, and I get it, the season is still fairly, what's the word I'm looking for? New, fresh? No. I can't even think of the word, but forget about it. The Ravens defense just has to do more, right? Because a lot of the problems that were happening was because of self-inflicted mistakes compared to just, okay, they schemed this up better than what we had in mind. Like Marcus Williams was not looking the best. He was not looking the best out there. I know they called, I think, like a stupid call on Kyle Hamilton for no reason, even though that was a clean hit. That was a clean hit. That was not a dirty hit. That was a very clean hit. So I don't understand why they would do that. But all in all, a really great game. Hats off to Jaden Daniels and that Commanders offense. They held in. They took the blows that came in from the Ravens, and they almost had it. They almost won. But the Ravens do Ravens things. Now, Derrick Henry once again, he's doing his thing. This is the best version of Derrick Henry that we have seen altogether. This is the best version, okay? For him to be this productive this early into the season says a lot, okay? Because usually Derrick Henry really doesn't start, getting really active and really start putting up some serious numbers until the real first cold snap really happens, honestly speaking here. But for him to do it now definitely says a lot. It definitely says a lot. Now, on to the Steelers and Raiders game. Yes, it was a game that, honestly speaking here, I was definitely going to freak out, and I was definitely going to do a rant long episode. But, they pulled off the win, and, great. Honestly, that's that's all you can say. Just, cool. Now, you know what? Forget about it. Let's get into the stats before we go any farther. Okay, so Justin Fields, 14 for 24, 145 passing yards, 6 yards per attempt, a 58.3 completion percentage. Najee Harris, 14 attempts for 106 rushing yards, 6.6 rushing yards per carry, 4 rushes of 10 plus yards. George Pickens, 8 targets for 3 receptions, 53 receiving yards, 17.7 receiving yards per reception. Aiden O'Connell, 27 for 40, 227 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 5.7 yards per attempt, a 76.5 completion percentage. Alexander Madison for 14 attempts for 33 rushing yards, 2.4 yards per carry, one touchdown. Brock Bowers, 10 targets for 9 receptions, 71 receiving yards, 7.9 receiving. Wait a minute, did I say that right? 71 receiving yards and 7.9 receiving yards per reception. I know the excitement, and definitely the coffee. Now, when we look at this, and this sort of tails into the Russell Wilson stuff. Justin Fields did not have a good game. Let's be honest here, okay? Steelers fans, let's really have that conversation, okay? Because let's be real here. I get it. Justin Fields, he's been winning games and whatnot, but again, he mainly won this game because of his legs, not because of his arm, because of his legs, okay? His legs were able to extend plays, get a first down, do all those different types of things, right? Compared to, just putting up the numbers that he probably should put up. Like, granted, that Cowboys loss, that was a really bad loss. And you would think that, Justin Fields would show a little bit more, and he didn't. And that's sort of the reason why Mike Tomlin sort of opened up the quote-unquote quarterback competition again, because he realizes, like, listen, although, yes, we are winning games, the offense is still stagnant. Justin Fields is, his inability to see open people, because there were people getting open. In this game, there were people getting open, right? Calvin Austin was getting open. Darnell Washington was getting open. Pat Freiermuth was getting open. People were getting open. It was just, again, the limited vision that, Justin Fields had. And that's definitely been a drawback, and that's definitely been coming out a little bit more lately than what it has, unfortunately. But, Mike Tomlin realizes that, listen, I have a veteran quarterback who I really don't have to worry about all these different types of things. I know he's going to put the ball in the playmaker's hands. I know that. Now, will I be able to get the same athleticism and, the chance of him extending plays? No. But what we make up for it is his play calling, play adjustments, all those different types of things. And, I get it. I was definitely one of those people that would say, let Justin Fields at least make it to, the bye week. And then if you want to make that change, make that change. But, at this point, Justin Fields has been okay. Okay. He's not been, this dynamic, quarterback. He hasn't. He hasn't. Now, there are some games he's won with his legs. There's some games that he's lost with his legs. There's some games he's won with his arm. And there's some games he's lost with his arm. Right. And, the team wants to make it to the playoffs, and they realize that, if the best person, the best option possible is to, bring in Russell Wilson, then it's time to bring in Russell Wilson. Not to mention, Justin Fields was already on borrowed time. If let's be real, let's really have an honest conversation here. Justin Fields was already on borrowed time, okay, because of Russell Wilson's calf injury. Now, granted, I understand that Russell Wilson will still be limited because, he's a little bit up in age and his athleticism isn't what it used to be and all those different type of stuff. I get that. But, I think they realize that, a change needs to be made now, especially with, with everything that's happened with the Jets, today, especially with them getting DAVANTE Adams. Like, this is a really important game on Sunday night. This is. And granted, you lost to the Cowboys on Sunday night, even though that was a winnable game. You can't do that again. You just can't. And granted, I understand, we should be, celebrating this, that, and the other because we won and we beat the Raiders, but it's like that was expected, right? It was expected for us to beat the Raiders, okay? Because the Raiders don't have Christian Wilkins, don't have DAVANTE Adams, Gardner Minshew was not starting, and there were a slew of other players that were banged up. So, of course, we were going to go in and get the W. Now, there was a point in time where things were starting to look really shaky. It was. Broderick Jones, a few plays was looking like a deer in headlights. And, the offense just has to do more, especially from the quarterback position. I think that's where Mike Tomlin is at this point, because he realizes that, listen, even though that the Eagles look a little bit shaky, the Chiefs look a little bit shaky, and the real main competition that you're really going to have to worry about is the Commanders and the Ravens, I still can't take these teams lightly. I still can't. They want to position themselves the best way that they can to make a playoff run. And if it means that they have to do this, if it means that they have to, make a change, and they have to make a change. Now, granted, you know, will this open up the playbook a little bit more? I don't know. There's a chance that it it could happen. But if you're Justin Fields, I wouldn't take it as somewhat of a punishment. I would take it as, okay, this is what I should have done more. This is how I could have been more useful. All those different types of things. But I will say this to play devil's advocate. It's hard for him to do that when you don't have a whole lot of weapons, right? Pat Freiermuth and Najee are probably your most consistent weapons. Well, and now Calvin Austin is starting to as well. George Pickens takes off on plays. The plays that George should have scored, on Sunday, he didn't do it. And, he could have done it. He could have easily done it. And he didn't decide to do it. Now, why? I don't know. But, again, this model of, okay, we're going to rely on the defense to position us in great areas of the field so that we can score easily, I don't think it's working. I just don't. I think, when we look at this, the offense is handicapped. It is. It's handicapped because of the limit of playmakers and, just downright consistent quarterback play. Like, there'll be some games where Justin Fields is, doing his thing in the pocket. And then there's other times where Justin Fields just has to solely run, use his legs. And that's not always going to that's not going to always win you games. It's not. Because there's teams now that, have players on their team or have schemes designed to stop players like a Justin Fields just in case they want to run. Just in case they want to, do all these different types of things. Now, do I think Justin Fields will still be involved, in certain plays? I do believe that. I still do because of his athleticism. But to how much of the degree that he will be involved, I don't know. This is a wait and see situation. I would not be surprised if they make the decision of Russell Wilson being the starter fairly quickly. I would not be surprised. Now, on to a topic that I think definitely needs to be talked about, especially with, the trade deadline coming up soon. And that's trade predictions. Yes, trade predictions. Now, these are just a few names that I've definitely thought of and, in no particular order and whatnot, but we definitely have to go over and cover some of these, names as well as any other ones that may come to mind. So Davante Adams, of course, he's already been traded. Haason Reddick, Deontay Johnson, Amari Cooper, Mike Williams, DeAndre Hopkins, Emmanuel Forbes, Travis Etienne, Christian Kirk, and Eric Armstead, right? These are just people that I think will probably get traded or at least garner some interest, personally. Now, for Haason Reddick, I think he will garner a lot of attention because there's a lot of teams that need a pass rusher right now, especially the Lions. With Aiden Hutchinson going down and he's basically being out for the year, they need a pass rusher. And granted, I understand, I know there's probably Lions fans are probably saying, oh, we should get Max Crosby, get Myles Garrett. It's like, but you really wouldn't be able to afford them in the long run, right? Haason Reddick, on the other hand, you probably could. Now, the only roadblock is he wants to get paid. Now, the question is he willing to play on the existing deal that he has now? Or is he going to do the same thing that he did with the Jets, which is basically just hold out? I think that's the problem in all this. Now, granted, he did change, management, and he got Drew Rosenhaus, and everybody knows Drew Rosenhaus takes care of it. Was okay. They're in a good place. Talks are going on and whatnot. To now this morning. Well, not even this morning, but this after. What was it this morning? It was this morning. that, they've given him permission to seek a trade. So, it's a moving, ongoing situation. I think it's a decision that will probably come fairly quickly for a team that is looking for a pass rusher. Now the question is, will he stay in the NFC or will he go to the AFC? I think that is the major question in all of this. Now, on to the receivers. Deontay Johnson, Amari Cooper, Mike Williams, D Hop, Christian Kirk. Now, the only person that I think that won't be, garnering interest from the Steelers is probably Deontay Johnson. That's only because of a certain rule in place where he can't be traded back under, I think it's like 2 years or something like that, blah, blah, blah. Who cares about that? But I think people like Mike Williams, who just became available, especially with everything going on with, with Davante Adams being traded to the Jets, I think he will garner interest from the Steelers. D Hop will probably garner interest from the Steelers. Maybe even Christian Kirk if they're looking to spend a little bit of money. I think they could probably garner interest from the Steelers. I think any receivers outside of Amari Cooper and Deontay Johnson will definitely be connected to the Steelers in some way because, again, the Steelers are still in the market for a receiver. They've been in the market for a receiver since the offseason, since they traded for Deontay Johnson and have been, very unsuccessful. They put all their eggs in one basket for Brandon Ayuk. That blew up in their face. They tried to go after Davante Adams, blew up in their face. So, they're going to try to see what they can do. Now, do I think Mike Williams will be open to getting traded to the Steelers? Possibly. Maybe as of, a little bit of a revenge and whatnot. Who knows? But, D Hop, he could definitely get traded because the Titans aren't looking that good. That offense is, it's not looking good. It's not. Will Levis does not look good this year, folks. He does not. Calvin Ridley is complaining that he's not getting any touches and whatnot. So it's just a whole debacle going on in Tennessee right now. Now, for the other people that you're probably thinking about, you're probably thinking, Emmanuel Forbes? Really? Emmanuel Forbes? Yes, Emmanuel Forbes. I do think Emmanuel Forbes will possibly be, floated around simply because I think since he's been drafted there, I think he just hasn't had the best situation. Now, granted, he was drafted, when Ron Rivera was there, and, he just didn't look that good. He just didn't. I think, putting him in a different situation, a better situation, will probably be a little bit better. Now, do I think he'll stay within the conference? I don't know. I do know there's other teams that do need, a somewhat productive corner. That is still on the rookie deal, is cheap, and you don't have to give up a whole lot to get him. So, you have that. Travis Etienne, you have someone who is a dual threat, who is just as dangerous at running back as, when it comes to receiving as well, honestly speaking here. And, the Jaguars really haven't been using him as much as they have, in the past. So I do think when you have those two factors on top of them not, I think, picking up his fifth-year option, if I'm not mistaken, you have that. You have Trevor Lawrence not, looking the best, and this team looking like it's going to go through another tanking year. I think it's just best you probably get something with Travis Etienne before letting him, become a free agent. I do. I think Travis Etienne could definitely garner some interest from a few teams that are looking for that receiving back-ish type of running back. I do. Same thing for Christian Kirk as well. I think, when we look at this, and this sort of tails into what happened with the Jacksonville and Chicago game, this team is just not looking good. Trevor Lawrence has not looked the same Trevor Lawrence as he did, last year or even the year before that. He has not looked good. I don't know if it's a coaching thing. I don't know if it's a schematic thing. I don't know if it's a player thing. I don't know what it is, but Trevor Lawrence does not look the same. He looks horrible. And, it's starting to look like that deal that they gave him, it's starting to look like it's going to be a backfire. It really is, because the same production that you saw last year, it's just not there anymore. And granted, he has weapons around him. You have Christian Kirk, you have Evan Ingram. They just got Brian Thomas, this year's draft. You have Travis Etienne. You have Tank Bigsby. So why can't you get things done, Trevor Lawrence? I think that's the $1 million question that everyone's trying to figure out. Like, what exactly is going on in Jacksonville? because this team is, I'm not saying this is a team that can compete with the Texans, but they should be a team that should, they should have a few wins under their belt right now, and they haven't. So, let's let's see what happens with that. Even with Eric Armstead, I think Eric Armstead would probably want out as well, simply because, for one, teams are in need for, a defensive tackle, especially a team like the Commanders, who they just lost Jonathan Allen, for the year with a torn pec. I think going to Washington might be a better situation because they're winning right now. And if they keep this winning up, there's a chance that they can make it to the playoffs. Now, I'm not saying they're going to make it to the Super Bowl or the NFC Championship, but they could make some noise. They could make some noise. That's all I'm saying. They can make some noise. Now, do I think any of those four people, Manuel Forbes, Travis Etienne, Christian Kirk, or Eric Armstead, do I think any of them will get traded? I don't know. Only time will tell at this point. And just like that, folks, we got breaking news. Breaking news. Just see, greatest football podcast in the world. Don't care what anyone says. Amari Cooper just got traded to the Bills. I am not lying to you right now. Amari Cooper just got traded to the Bills. Apparently what they're saying is there is going to be a pick swap that includes a 3rd-round pick. Oh my God. Oh my God. Come on. Come on, man. What are we doing? But at the same time, this was somewhat expected because, with the Browns restructuring, Amari Cooper's deal, it definitely, opens up a path for them to trade him, release him, do whatever. So, Josh Allen gets a bona fide number 1 receiver who is still very productive at this point in his career. And, that definitely, moves the needle just a little bit more. It does. So, you have that. Again, greatest football podcast in the world. Bar none. Nobody can compete with this. Now, we got to talk about the Cowboys. Yes, got to talk about the Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? How about them Cowboys? How about them Cowboys? Cowboys got eviscerated, okay? They got cooked, okay? I'm talking about they got sauteed. They got cooked Salt Bay style, okay? They got cooked not even over their stove, okay? They got cooked over some wood. They got some trees, some tree branches, some leaves. They put them together, light the fire. Whew. What do we have? A sauteed L, just for Jerry Jones. Happy birthday, Jerry. Happy birthday, Jerry. And what's the best way for a Cowboys fan to celebrate their birthday? With a L. A L. Okay? A L. The biggest L that you could possibly think of, okay? So Jared Goff was 18 for 25, 315 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 12.6 yards per attempt, and a 72 completion percentage, okay? David Montgomery, 12 attempts for 80 rushing yards, 6.7 rushing yards per carry, 2 touchdowns, 3 rushes of 10-plus yards or more. For Jamison Williams, 4 targets for 3 receptions, 76 receiving yards, 1 touchdown, 25.3 receiving yards per reception. Ooh, it just stank, don't it? It just stank, don't it? Now, Dak Prescott, yeah, Mr. $60, Mr. 60 million a year, Mr. 60 million. 17 for 33, 178 passing yards, 2 picks, 5.4 yards per attempt, a 51.5 completion percentage. Rico Dowdle, I think I'm pronouncing your last name wrong. I'm horrible with last names. I apologize. 5 attempts for 25 rushing yards, 5 rushing yards per carry, 1 rush of 10-plus yards or more. CeeDee Lamb, 14 targets for 7 receptions, 89 receiving yards, 12.7 receiving yards per reception. Now, when we look at this, the Cowboys just got embarrassed. They got embarrassed. I think that's just what it boils down to. The Cowboys got embarrassed in their home stadium, okay? The Lions were dominant from the first quarter to the fourth quarter. They were dominant. In every level of the game, they were being dominant. The defense was making plays. The offense was making plays. Everything was just clicking. And, I think we do need to have an honest conversation. The Cowboys this offseason did not position them to be competitive, not only in their division, but against other teams. And granted, there's probably Cowboys fans who are saying, well, we were able to beat you guys. No, we beat ourselves. That's what it was. in the discussion, okay? But when we look at this team, it needs its stars. It needs its stars. Like, let's be real here. From Micah Parsons being out, D-Law being out, that defensive line is not looking good, let alone the defense. It's all around, it's not really that good. The only two bright spots that you really have is Dak and CeeDee Lamb. And even then, they haven't really been clicking the most. They really haven't. So, again, if you're a Cowboys fan and if you really think that this team can make some noise this year, they can. Because, again, this whole offseason, they were tied to trying to, figure out what they're going to do with Dak, figure out what they're going to do with CeeDee Lamb, and then others. And then once they were done with all of that, by the time they were able to create some cap space, all the good players were gone. All the good players were gone. So, the offensive line was not looking that good. The receivers, okay, granted, other people were getting open outside of CeeDee Lamb, but, the Lions just came in. They came in with the mission. Well, and what was their mission? We're going to kick down this door. We're going to beat you to a pulp. We're going to take everything you have and we're going to run. And there's nothing that you can do about it. You cannot call in the police. You can't call the feds. You can't call the FBI, CIA, military, whatever. Because guess what? We are robbing you. We are robbing you, okay? Hands in the air where I can see them, okay? Because guess what? The Cowboys, you guys are horrible. Horrible. And I mean that with the biggest H I can possibly think of in my brain. You guys are horrible. Granted, Dak Prescott does his thing every once in a while, but guess what? Sooner or later, you're going to get the beat down. And you got the beat down in front of America. So guess what? Enjoy that L. Now, moving on to the Browns and the Eagles, because we do have to talk about them. The Browns and Eagles game really wasn't that good. It wasn't. Nah, it just wasn't. I think the brightest spot was realizing that Nick Sirianni shaved his head and that, he said a few things that, he probably shouldn't have said and, all this other stuff. But, it's whatever. It's whatever. But, speaking of which, actually, the trade details just dropped for the Amari Cooper trade. So the Bills, of course, are getting Amari Cooper and a 2025 6th-round pick. The Browns are getting a 2025 3rd-round pick and a 2026 7th-round pick, which sort of entails to what's going on right now. So when we look at this, and let's just be honest here. Let's really address the elephant in the room here. The Browns whiffed hard. They whiffed hard on the whole Deshaun Watson debacle. They thought that they were going to trade for a player that is going to give them the same amount of energy and the same amount of play that the Texans got. And it hasn't shown. It has not shown. Deshaun Watson looks horrible. He looks washed. He looks like he is not himself. Now, I don't know if it's because of all the off the field legal issues. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, he does not look good. He does not look good. If I am the GM and if I'm Kevin Stefanski, I'm drafting me a quarterback. I understand that we're tied to Deshaun Watson, and that's a fully guaranteed deal. I get all of that. I'm not, trading him away, but I have to prepare for the future. I have to at this point because again, you're wasting that defense's time. Myles Garrett, you're wasting his time. Zadarius Smith, you're wasting his, the corners. You're wasting everybody's time. And granted, we can't say that Deshaun Watson walked into a situation where he was deprived of talent. No, the Browns kept on giving him talent year after year after year. And what happened? They didn't do anything. I want you to think about this for a second here, Browns fans and everybody else, all my fellow junkies out there in the world. Guess what? Joe Flacco, and old Joe Flacco, was more productive in the short span that he was playing last year than Deshaun Watson has since he's been traded to the Browns. I want you to think about that for a second. That should probably make you feel very small. And the simple fact that the Browns did not do enough to try to keep Joe Flacco on the team says even more. And you replaced him with Jameis Winston, thinking that that's going to work. And every single game, Kevin Stefanski says the same thing, which is what? I believe in Deshaun Watson. We're going to continue to move with Deshaun Watson. Guess what? You're not fooling everybody, Kevin. You're not. The fact of the matter is this offense is not productive under Deshaun Watson. It's not. It was more productive under Joe Flacco, who could barely move, than Deshaun Watson. It was. And granted, you guys don't have Nick Chubb. Okay, cool. You guys had, some injuries have piled up in different positions. I get all of that. But still, you should see something, anything from Deshaun Watson. You literally gave this man the first fully guaranteed contract in NFL history. You moved resources for multiple years for one person. And what has that person done? Nothing. You should be ashamed of yourself. People should get fired. But again, the Browns will be the Browns. Now, moving forward, okay, so let's just get into these stats, okay? So here we go. Jalen Hurts. Wait a minute, did I already say everything? You know what? Who cares? We're going to go into it, okay? Jalen Hurts, 16 for 25, 264 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 10.6 yards per attempt, a 64, I can't even speak, completion percentage. A.J. Brown, 9 targets for 6 receptions, 116 receiving yards, 1 touchdown, 19.3 receiving yards per reception. Saquon, the quad god, 18 attempts for 47 rushing yards, 2.6 rushing yards per carry, and 1 rush of 10 plus yards or more. Deshaun Watson, 16 for 23, 168 passing yards, 7.3 yards per attempt, 69.6 completion percentage. Amari Cooper, 6 targets for 4 receptions, 42 receiving yards, 10.5 receiving yards per reception. Pierre Strong, 8 attempts for 43 rushing yards, 5.4 rushing yards per carry, and 1 rush of 10 plus yards or more. Now, when we look at this, this was definitely a must-need win for both teams. It was. And it was not necessarily for record purposes, but for culture, right? Because I could assure you that it is not easy going into that Browns locker room every single day. I can assure you that there are players that are looking at Deshaun Watson with the side eye because they're thinking like, yo, you ain't the same person that we saw in the Texans. Everybody knows when Deshaun Watson was playing with the Texans, he was lighting things up. There was one year, I think he was a finalist for an MVP. That's how great he was. And since he's, come to the Browns, he's had this fall from grace. And it's not good. It's not good at all. If you're Myles Garrett, I get it. You're tied with them for I get it. They drafted you and all that different type of stuff. But bro, you are one of the best pass rushers in the league. I can guarantee you, if you made yourself available, somebody with a better record in a better situation would gladly take you. Because right now, you're on a sinking ship. And this ship has so many holes in it that you can't patch it up with just, with just cloth and tape and all this other stuff. No, this ship is sinking. It is sinking fast. And the only way that you're going to be able to do anything, or at least experience something that nobody else has experienced on the team, which is make it to an AFC championship or let alone a Super Bowl, you got to go. You got to go. Same thing with Za'Darius. I wouldn't be surprised if Za'Darius' name gets floated around because, again, he chose the Browns over the Ravens. Over the Ravens. I know. It's crazy. He literally chose the Browns over the Ravens. If I'm Za'Darius Smith, I am sick to my stomach because look at the Ravens. The Ravens are in a position right now where you can make an argument that the Ravens are the best team, not only in the AFC, but the best team in the league right now, okay? And this is pending, the 49ers getting healthy and CMC finally gets on the field and, any looming trades or anything like that. But yeah, let me check my phone real quick just in case anything crazy happened. Anything crazy happened? Nope. Okay, cool. Now, moving forward, okay? So that's just what it is. And for the Eagles, it was definitely a needed win for them because, again, you're coming off of a bye. The last game that you played, you basically got eviscerated. Okay, you got robbed. Okay, the Buccaneers came in like some real pirates, and they stole your treasure. Okay, that's what it is. And for them to get a win is great, but at the same time, when you have an emotional head coach like Nick Sirianni, it sort of waters down the win. And you know what? I'm going to just read the quote and then we'll get into what I'm about to say. So this is what he says after the fact. After the fact, he did what he did, was basically, jarring at the fans and whatnot. This is what he says with his kids, quote unquote. I would say this about that. What I was really doing was trying to bring energy, enthusiasm. I can't even speak. I was trying to bring energy and enthusiasm yesterday, and I'm sorry and disappointed about how my energy was directed at the end of the game. He said, "My my energy should be in my energy should be." I cannot speak. My energy should be all in on coaching, motivating, and celebrating with our guys, and so I've got to have better wisdom and discernment of when to use that energy. Man, I'm gonna be honest here. Nick Sirianni is definitely gonna get fired. He's definitely gonna get fired. He definitely is, because when we look at this, he's way too emotional. He's way too emotional. And granted, no one is saying that you have to be as stiff as a board. You have to be like Bill Belichick and don't make any facial, emotions or anything. No one is saying that. But you're jarring with fans. Fans. Why are you jarring with fans? There's no need for you to jar at fans. No need whatsoever. Once you've done shaking hands with the players and the coaches and whatnot, go in the back, talk to your players, tell them what the plan is, take a shower, get on the bus, go home. Okay? Just do that instead of just doing this. Nick Sirianni is too emotional when it comes to this game, and that is hurting them than helping them. It is. And I would not be surprised, if he does get fired, because I don't want him to get fired, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does, that, leaks start coming out about certain situations that have probably happened in the past and all those different types of things, because he's way too emotional. And as a head coach, you cannot be that emotional, because there are going to be situations in the game where you are going to have to be laser focused. You won't have time to jar with the ref or jar with a fan and do all this clapping and do all this trash talking and whatnot. You won't have time to do that, because you have to be focused on, okay, what should we do in this situation? It's 2-minute warning. It's the fourth quarter. We're trying to win this game. We need to win this game so we can make it to the playoffs. But you can't focus on that, because you're trying to focus on trying to jar with a fan. A fan. What is fan short? Fanatic. Come on, man. Who was this clown? Now, on to the last game that we need to talk about, okay? The Jacksonville Jaguars and the Chicago Bears. Now, if you were not up watching this game, just know this. This was a game that you could just leave on and you can go back to sleep, okay? Because this was a one-sided game. The Bears came to London and they destroyed the Jaguars. So let's just get into everything, okay? So Trevor Lawrence, 23 for 35, 234 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 6.7 yards per attempt, a 65.7 completion percentage. Dearness Johnson, 6 attempts for 28 rushing yards, 4.7 rushing yards per carry, 1 rush of 10-plus yards or more. Evan Ingram, 10 targets for 10 receptions, 102 receiving yards, 10.2 receiving yards per reception. Now, Caleb Williams, 23 for 29, 226 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick, 7.8 yards per attempt, a 79.3 completion percentage. DeAndre Swift, 17 attempts for 91 rushing yards, 5.4 rushing yards per carry, 1 touchdown, 4 rushes of 10-plus yards or more. Cole Kmet, 5 targets for 5 receptions, 70 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, 14 receiving yards per reception. Now, when we look at this, folks, this game definitely could have went either way, but I'm not surprised that the Bears won it, honestly speaking. The Jaguars could not stop the run. DeAndre Swift was doing his thing. Caleb Williams was doing his thing. Just the Bears offense as a whole was just being very productive, and the Jaguars defense didn't have an answer for it. And it also didn't help that they had some self-inflicted wounds with a few pass interference calls and holding and, various different things. So, when you have a game like that, especially on the international platform, there's definitely going to be some ramifications, right? I would not be surprised if there are some people that are going to either get traded or get cut soon, simply because, again, the Jaguars are just dysfunctional right now. Neither side of the ball looks really good. And granted, the Jaguars defense should be really good, especially that defensive line. You got Trey Walker on one side, you got Josh Allen on the other side, you got Eric Armstead in the middle. Like, they should be able to make some noise, and they haven't been able to do it. So, hopefully they can bounce back. Now, do I know, in my crystal ball, which is still on recall, do I think that it'll probably be a win? No, I just don't. I just think the Jaguars are continuing to fall in the same pit that they've been falling in for the past 5 to 10 years. Honestly, ever since they had that group where they had Calais Campbell and Telvin Smith and I'm going to say Bobby Wagner, Miles Jack, and that whole core and whatnot. I think they've been struggling since then, and they will continue to struggle. So I'm going to end this here. If you guys like what you are listening, please like, share, subscribe, turn that notification bell on, download the episode, leave a 5-star review wherever you guys listen to the Football Junkies podcast. Also, I have to emphasize this, okay? We have a link tree, okay? The link tree is on the Instagram as well as the YouTube. You click on that, it'll take you everywhere that we have all of our stuff posted at, okay? From our TikTok, of course, the Instagram, the YouTube, Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, RSS feed, all those different types of things. So for my YouTube people, like, share, subscribe, turn that notification bell on, leave a comment down below. Tell me what are your thoughts about Davante Adams going to the Jets, okay? For my TikTok people, Football Junkies Pod. My YouTube people, Football Junkies Pod. And for my Instagram people, Football underscore Junkies Pod. Junkies Pod is not what? It is together, not spaced, okay? And as always, I hope I gave you guys the fix that you guys need. I'm going to try to see if we can crank out one more episode this week, especially with Thursday Night Football coming on. It should be a good game, a very good revenge game for Sean Payton, okay? As always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. We made it to 40 episodes, okay? 40 episodes. So thank you to everybody that has supported me up to this point. And in the future, I love you guys, each and every one of y'all, from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate your endless support, from people reposting it to people liking it, all those different types of things. I appreciate you guys so much. We are very close to hitting 500 downloads, okay? And we're very close, okay, to even hitting 1,000 downloads. Now, once we get to 1,000 downloads, folks, we'll be able to bring in them sponsorships. Bringing those sponsorships, bring in more money. You bring in more money, guess what? Better content, more content. So all in all, it makes everybody happy. So please make sure that you guys are downloading these episodes so I can be able to give the fix that you guys need to not only to you, fellow football junkies, but to other people who do not know anything about the Football Junkies podcast. So I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I was going to go on this whole long rant about, well, not even a rant, but this whole long thing about being at 40 episodes, but who cares about that? So the only thing I can say is thank you. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for, being with me on this journey. And, this is, again, the road to something great. So peace and love. I'm out.